I Will Remember. So this was the last song that was added onto the project, and that was kind of intentional on my part, really, because the story behind the song is that it's really the culmination of this entire writing process for me. The whole idea of this song is it's a remembrance song. It's looking back and seeing God's faithfulness and really his hand in my life and through this process. It stems back to where this whole kind of album got started, and is on that mission trip to Zimbabwe where the Lord really began to stir in my heart. And I remember so many sleepless nights, like literal sleepless nights in Zimbabwe, just laying awake in my bed and just thinking about, like, God, why would you call me to write an album? Like, I would never consider myself to be a songwriter. I was definitely not confident in songwriting and not even confident in singing. Like, the biggest fear I had was sharing my songs with people. Like, I hated that feeling. And so I remember just up at night so many times, like multiple nights in a row, just saying, God, why are we doing this? What's the point of this process? And I remember just the Lord so clearly saying, I want this album to be a memorial of my faithfulness. A memorial of my faithfulness. And it reminded me of the people of Israel in the Old Testament. Whenever God did something incredible, whether it was at the Red Sea or crossing the Jordan, that the people of Israel, God's people, would build a memorial. They would build an altar, and they would name it after the specific act that God had done. And in the same way, I felt like God was saying that this project would be a memorial of my faithfulness. And I think, unfortunately, we see a pattern in Scripture that the people of God tend to be and really have a bad track record of remembrance. There's a long track record of God's faithfulness and God's hand in their life, his faithfulness, how he was present with them and how he delivered them. But usually along with that deliverance and that redemption came a lack of thankfulness and remembrance from his people. And so this song is kind of my way of saying, I will remember that you're faithful. I will remember that all of your plans are good. And so really the song was, it didn't take very long to write, just because I felt like it was just the culmination of what I was writing, but it still needed a bridge. The verses and chorus came pretty quickly, but then I still needed a bridge, and I wasn't really sure kind of like how to wrap it all up. And so I remember my girlfriend at the time, but my now fiance, Preem, was actually visiting Tulsa. We had been doing long distance pretty much up until this point, so we were just spending the day together in Tulsa. It was actually on my birthday, and we were just writing together, and I showed her this song. She had never seen it before, and I was like, I really want to write a bridge to this. So we just started kind of playing in the key and just trying to find something, and we wanted to center around the theme of James 1:2-4. And James 1:2-4 simply says this, is whenever you face trials of any kind, consider it nothing but joy, because you know that the testing of your faith produces endurance. And let endurance have its full effect, so that you may be mature and complete, lacking in nothing. I love that James talks about finding joy in the process. There's joy and endurance, and that's really been an anchor point for Preem and I through our dating relationship and through our engagement season. But even just this whole point of this process of writing and producing and recording this project was that even in those moments of insecurity and weakness and honestly like doubt and fear throughout this whole process, ultimately I could say that I can count it as joy because endurance was having its full effect. And so I remember when we wrote that bridge, it was just like a solidified thing of like, yeah, this song needs to be on the project. So I remember, it's a really simple recording. We don't do much with it. We keep it pretty chill. But I remember just kind of singing on it for the final time, getting the final vocal recording. And I remember just like, as I was singing it, just like the thoughts in my head of just for the past year and a half, all of the demos, the hours and hours of writing, working, editing, producing, just all of the intricate work that came into it. I was just, as I was singing, I will remember that you're faithful. I will remember all you've done for me. I will remember you're with me. It was all those memories just came flooding back in my mind, and I was just overwhelmed in that moment of just like, wow, like this whole process has really not been about me, but it's been about God's hand and God's plan throughout this whole process. So my hope is that even though this song is probably the most self-expressive song on the whole project, I still hope that the people can hear it, and that whoever hears it's going through maybe a long journey and a long process and a season of trust and being open-handed before the Lord. I pray that this song would give you the strength and the faith to trust him for just another day, to trust that he's good and to trust his character and that he's faithful, and that we would be the people of God and live in remembrance.